Hello viewers, welcome to my channel IITJ Olympiads and AP Physics with Ambarish. And today I have brought another interesting video on simple harmonic motion. This is Shashi Bhushan Tiwari problem 12.26 based on centrifugal force fields. And before I get into the video, let me tell you that the answer given in the book is wrong and the solution is also wrong. And many of my students were facing some difficulty with this problem, and therefore I decided to do a video. And of course you can do it using standard energy method or force method or the torque method, but I'll try to present to you another approach which I find to be most elegant. And apart from that, I'm also going to present to you a paradox in the final result, and I'll let you figure out how to resolve that paradox for this particular problem. So without much ado, let me straight away get into the problem. So let me read the problem statement. A circular wire frame of radius r is rotating about its fixed vertical diameter. A bead on the wire remains at rest relative to the wire at a position in which the radius makes an angle theta with the vertical. See figure. Okay, so this is rotating about a vertical diameter, and here we have a fixed bead. Okay, and this angle is given as theta. Okay, and there is no friction between the bead and the wire frame, so it can slide without friction along this. Prove that the bead will perform simple harmonic motion in the reference frame of the wire if it is displaced a little from its equilibrium position. And also we have to find the calculate the time period of the oscillation. Okay, so if you want, you can try out this problem for some time, and then you can have a look at my solution. I'll get into the analysis straight away. Okay, so let's see the concepts that I'm going to use for solving this problem. So first concept, it's a very important concept. I've also presented this concept in a few earlier videos. I'll try to give a link of those videos also in the description box, but here for completeness I'll again share the concept. So first is the concept of centrifugal potential energy. What do we mean by centrifugal potential energy? So centrifugal potential energy of a point mass rotating with angular velocity omega in a rotating frame can be defined as U is equal to minus half m omega square r square. This is my claim. Why I am claiming this, that I'll let you know shortly. So I am saying that if something is rotating, we have a rotating frame rotating with constant omega, then I can define centrifugal potential energy of any particle as this. Here r is the distance of the mass from the axis of rotation. And how do we understand this? See, suppose a block is connected to a spring, a point spring, and it is at a distance r from the point of connection of the spring. Then what is the spring force? Spring force is simply k times r. So this distance is r, so, and spring constant is k, then this force is k times r, and direction is minus r cap inwards. Okay, this is supposed to be a point spring, and what will be the potential energy associated with the point spring? That will be half k r square. Now similarly, suppose I have a turntable rotating with omega, then I have a centrifugal force which is again proportional to r, but the difference is spring force is towards the pivot, whereas the centrifugal force is away from the pivot. So this is just like spring force, except here the spring constant is negative. So here we had kr and minus r cap, and here we have m omega square r and plus r cap. Okay, so by comparison we can say that this is also like a spring. This block is behaving as if it's connected to a spring of negative spring constant. Okay, so by comparison of this expression and this expression, I can say that k effective of a centrifugal field is nothing but minus m omega square, and accordingly centrifugal potential energy is minus half mr square omega square. So I hope this is amply clear. This is a very useful technique and it will save you a lot of time in a lot of problems to be solved in rotating frames. Okay, so keep this in mind, that centrifugal field can be just visualized as a spring force field. Okay, so this centrifugal force can be treated like a conservative force, just like the spring force, because its form is just the same. Its mathematics is very similar to the spring force mathematics. Okay, then the second concept is, if in a conservative force field potential energy of a point is moving along a circle varies as u of theta, then time period of oscillation of such a particle is given as t is equal to 2 pi under root of I upon u double dash. Here I is the moment of inertia and u double dash is the second derivative of potential energy with respect to theta about the equilibrium point. Okay, so here I is the moment of inertia about the center of curvature, and u double dash is d square u by d theta square at the equilibrium angular position. So now how do I prove this? I did a similar thing in solving one of the Krotov problems. I'll also try to give a link to that one. There I did it with linear displacement. Here I am doing the similar kind of thing with angular displacement. Okay. So how do we explain this? What's the proof for this? That time period has to be equal to this. So see, if we have a conservative torque, so in our case the ring is rotating in a centrifugal field and the gravitational field, and both of the fields are conservative fields, and normal reaction is of course not doing any work. So it's a conservative force field, and when we have a conservative force field, small change in potential energy is negative of the work done by the torque. So du I can say is minus tau d theta. Here tau is the conservative torque. Okay, in our problem will be the torque of gravity and torque of the centrifugal force, right? So I can say that torque is nothing but rate of change of potential energy with respect to theta. Just rearranging equation 5. So I can say tau is minus du by d theta. Okay. Now let's say theta naught is the equilibrium angular position, then obviously in equilibrium position the torque has to be 0, so tau of theta naught is 0. And now let theta be the further displacement of the body from equilibrium position, angular displacement. So from equilibrium position theta naught I am taking it a little bit ahead by another amount theta. Okay. So then what is the change in angle, the torque? So I can use Taylor approximation. So according to Taylor approximation, torque at theta naught plus theta is nothing but torque at theta naught plus d tau by d theta into theta, where theta is the additional angular displacement. Okay. So this is a standard Taylor approximation you must be knowing from your standard basic maths theory, which I have used here. Okay. But torque itself was the first derivative of u, right? Tau itself was minus du by d theta. So d tau by d theta becomes what? Second derivative of u, right? And tau of theta naught was 0. Why? Because theta naught was the equilibrium position. So and this becomes what? This becomes simply minus d square u by d theta square, and this torque must be equal to I alpha, and alpha is the angular acceleration, and that is I into d square theta by dt square. And if you look at equation 9, this is just like the simple harmonic motion standard differential equation. So d square theta by dt square is proportional to theta, and proportionality constant being equal to d square u by d theta square. So just comparing this with the standard SHMD, we can say that time period is 2 pi under root of moment of inertia upon u double dash. Okay, so I hope you got this logic, and I'm sure this formula is going to be very helpful for all of you while dealing with the simple harmonic motion along circular paths. So that's why I'm putting a red rectangle around it. So you might like to remember this, or if you don't remember this, just try to recall the technique. Okay, now coming to the current problem. See, so what can I write for potential energy? So if I choose this as the reference for gravitational potential energy, then its depth is nothing but r cos theta, right? So its gravitational potential energy is minus mgr cos theta. And if it is rotating with omega, the ring is rotating with omega, so distance of the bead from the ring axis is r sin theta, right? So centrifugal potential energy is minus half m omega square r square sin square theta. So this is my expression for potential energy. Now first of all I need to find the equilibrium position theta. What will be the theta for equilibrium position and related to angular velocity? So I know that for equilibrium the potential energies should be minimum, and therefore derivative of potential energy must be 0. So I just differentiate equation 11 and equate it to 0. So du by d theta is equal to 0, and if you do that, if you rearrange this equation, you get omega square is equal to g upon r cos theta, or otherwise you can also find cos theta. So cos theta will come out to be how much? See, cos theta will come out to be g upon omega square r. Now for cos theta to be defined this way, obviously omega square r must be greater than g. So if omega square r is not greater than g, then theta cannot have any finite value, and the bead will just stay put at the lowest position. Okay, more on that later, but please do keep in mind, for theta to have any non-zero value, omega square r must be greater than g, otherwise the bead will just stay put. Why is that? More on that later on in the video. Okay, so bear this in mind, this is our condition. Okay, now differentiating equation 12 with respect to theta. So this is your first derivative of u, and now I am trying to find the second derivative of u at what value of omega? Omega is equal to g, omega square is g by r cos theta, or cos theta is equal to g by omega square r. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to find the u double dash, and then I'm going to use our magic formula that we just derived. Okay, so u double dash, so you just differentiate equation 12. It's a simple differentiation, and this is what you get. Equation 14 is the second derivative, and now I can substitute omega square from equation 13. So put omega square is equal to g upon r cos theta in this. So this omega square you replace, and if you do that, the expression simplifies very nicely, and you get a neat value of u double dash as simply mgr sin theta tan theta. So this is our u double dash, and moment of inertia is of course mr square. So this bead is just rotating like this at a distance of r, so circle of radius r. So moment of inertia is mr square, and then using our magic formula we get time period is 2 pi under root of I upon u double dash. So just substitute that, cancel one m and cancel one r, and what are you left with? This is what you get for time period. T is 2 pi under root of r cos theta. See, this tan theta will become sin theta upon cos theta. So I've just taken that cos theta above. So 2 pi under root of r cos theta upon g sin square theta. So this is our time period, and immediately as soon as you see this expression, many sharp students, they become very suspicious, extremely suspicious. This is really this is really suspicious. Why? Because you might be thinking, what happens if theta goes to 0? What do you expect? If theta is 0, then according to this expression, the time period goes to infinity. But then you might be wondering, shouldn't it be just suppose theta is 0, that means what? You might be thinking that means omega is 0 if theta is 0. If omega is 0, then it's just a simple pendulum. So shouldn't the result reduce to 2 pi under root r by g? So that's the thought process of many students, and they get really worried when they get this result, and they think that they have done something wrong, and they recheck and recheck their calculations, but still again and again they get the same result. Okay, so what's wrong with this, or is there really something wrong with this? So that's the paradox. See, shouldn't the result reduce to 2 pi under root r by g for theta equal to 0? But here it is coming out to be infinity. So how to resolve this paradox? So you might like to think for a minute or so, and then look at how I have analyzed the situation. See, I just to make things clear, I've tried to plot some graphs. What happens by changing omega? How does theta vary? Okay. So recall that our analysis is subject to the fact that omega square r must be greater than g. Otherwise this formula has got no meaning. This formula has meaning only if omega square r is greater than g. So let us look at u versus theta graphs for various values of omega. So what I did, I have created a graph of u versus theta to study the effect of various values of omega. How does u versus theta graph look like? See, I have taken radius equal to 1 meter, and g is of course 9.8, and mass is 1 kg I have taken. And then root rg, if you calculate, that is root of 9.8, and root of 9.8 is 3.13. So what happens when root of 9.8, if you put omega exactly equal to root of 9.8, you can see u versus theta graph is almost flat. It is very, very flat, right? And when u is not changing with respect to theta, obviously if you displace it from let's say bottommost position, and you displace it a little bit, then it will just stay put in the new position. Okay, so it has got no motivation whatsoever to get back to original position, because this graph has become completely flat exactly when omega is under root of g, r is taken as 1. Okay, so that's why we are getting infinity. It's nothing surprising. When omega is exactly equal to root rg, this graph has become flat, and therefore time period should come out to be infinity exactly, because a whole thing is like neutral equilibrium kind of a situation. Okay, and remember this value is root of 9.8, which is 3.13 approximately, and this kind of graph you get. Now what happens when omega is less than this value? I told you that our analysis was for omega greater than root rg, but what happens when omega is less than root rg? See, so for example, I have plotted this graph when omega is 2.75 instead of 3.13. So this is less than root of 9.8, and this is the kind of graph we get. So here equilibrium position is what? Still equilibrium position is the origin. So students must notice that the bead will remain at the bottom not only for omega equal to 0, but all the way from omega equal to 0 to omega is equal to 3.13. It's not going to budge from its bottommost position, because bottommost position still remains the stable equilibrium position even when the omega is the 2.75 or any value less than root of 9.8 or root of g. Okay, so that's why theta will remain 0. It will not, the bead will not shift to any other theta even if you keep on increasing omega, so long as omega is limited by under root of g. It should be less than root of g, and it will stay, the bead will stay here only, and that's why. And if you take it exactly equal to root rg, then this becomes flat, and that's why you are getting time period equal to infinity. And what happens when omega is increased above under root of g, or root rg is increased further? R I have taken as 1 meter. So what happens if I take more than root g? So that's the third graph. You see, as omega is increased further, so new positions begin to emerge, and this theta equal to 0 is no more a position of stable equilibrium. You can see theta has become the position of unstable equilibrium. As omega, I have taken omega is equal to 3.5. So for neutral equilibrium it was 3.13, but here I have taken 3.5, and here you can see, here it is a peak and valleys are coming here and here. So some theta, so this is supposed to be in radians. So at this theta we are getting the stable equilibrium, and their oscillation is possible about this point. So I hope, so that's the resolution of the paradox. I hope you enjoyed my analysis as much as I did analyzing this problem. It was fun, especially looking into the paradox and drawing all these graphs in my CAS. If you did like my video, please do give it a thumbs up, and please do share it with your friends through WhatsApp, Telegram, Discord, or whatever media you use for networking with your fellow students preparing for JEE or Olympiads. And most importantly, if you have not already subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe to my channel, because that's what keeps me motivated to come up with newer videos. Thanks a lot for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. And as always, God bless you all. Thank you.